good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If we can take that, we'll get things moving. Thanks very much indeed for coming out this chilly spring evening. I reckon we've almost got 200 people crammed in here, which shows the amount of concern and anxiety over the issue of the green belt threat. So without further ado, I'll just briefly explain. We'll go through various speakers here, and then we've got a couple of local politicians as well that will speak, and you can ask them questions as well. But we'll kick off with Chairman of the Save Our Green Belt Committee, Mr. John Fairclough, who's going to talk a bit about the issues that are concerning us. So, John.
Hi, good evening.
Bit of ventilation, present.
Since we started 15 months ago, a lot of things have gone under the bridge, a lot of things have come face to face, and they're really testing us, and that's why we're holding this meeting today. That's one of the reasons, because we've got so much now to convey to you, which is not hearsay when it was at the time before the local plan. It is now fact. We're working on facts, etc. So, I've spoken of the local plan there. I'll go back to there. We had the local plan December, January 16-17, as you know. Our group then moved on to January the 23rd and asked for a meeting with the local Rainhill Parish Council, and we were granted 3 minutes to speak to see whether the Parish Council would support us. Approximately 70 of you turned up that day. Again, I've thanked you since, but thank you from all of us, not just me. That was the first time the Parish Council had ever had to move rooms, right? Yeah. So you, not me, achieved something. We then went on, and the Parish Council minuted that as a Parish Council, they were supporting against the local plan. Okay? We then had a meeting on December 11th, again, that's a presentation with the Rainhill Parish Council. We had to wait 9 weeks for a reply because we were asking questions. Would they support us? Would they come on the streets with us? Would they campaign with us? We had to wait 9 weeks. We gave them a 7-day ultimatum. We went to the press on the 7th day and the media, and 2 days after we got a reply by email. We asked another question on the 5th of March. As of today, this morning, no reply. As of late this afternoon, I've had a reply. The meeting, hopefully, is going to take place between between Rainhill Parish Council and our steering group, or a number of them. Okay? It won't be in the public. We'll be taking questions a bit later, if that's all right.
I'm sorry, but what you've said is not true. You didn't wait until today for a reply. You had a holding reply with a copy of a letter that was sent to March2018.
Excuse me, for this meeting that I'm talking about, that I'm referring to, I've got my laptop with me and I can prove what I'm saying. It came in from Gillian Pinder at approximately 3 o'clock, I think, and there was another one within minutes. So I'll continue from that. There's a lot of conjecture going round about Eccleston Park Golf Club. Is it sold? Is it leased? Whatever. Again, I got confirmation today from Land Registry after a full search that obviously we've had to pay for. It is sold to a degree. Okay, there are covenants on it and there are restrictions. So I'm asking the room tonight, is there a solicitor in the room that can sit down with me, away from here obviously, and go through these documents, because it's the first time I've ever seen documents from Land Registry. So I could do with understanding them basically. So if there is, don't want to put your hand up, that's okay, come and see us after, or you know somebody that you can ask. The campaign is much, much bigger than the Green Belt, right? We never realised how big until we started doing our own investigations. And every time I say we, I do mean we, the steering group, in its entirety. If you go ahead and build an extra 43% homes in the village, right, giving approximately 86% population increase, where's the nurseries going to go? Where's the extra primary schools going to go? Where's the senior schools going to go? We'll have more on senior schools, Rainhill High, later. Trade deliveries. If you look in the village, there's hardly any rear facilities for trade deliveries. So what do? The wagons, they usually put two wheels up on the pavement. And that restricts people with prams, pushchairs, normal able-bodied people, people with walking sticks and mobility scooters. You can't get through, especially down by what I call Monaghan's, the card shop, etc., and Waterfields, you know, when they deliver, and they've got to deliver. We want that trade in the village. GPs, they're struggling now, right? I mean, you know, people say, well, more GPs can move in, etc. Dentists, and then there's the accidents, right? We've got one A road in the whole of the village, from Prescott to the M62, right? That is getting worse and worse by the day. Today I witnessed 4 blue lights, and one had to go up on the pavement, screaming round the lay-by, past Anne's Barbers, right? And there was physically cars and everything just moving out of the way, because the bridge was so congested. That could be the difference between somebody living and somebody dying, right? These emergency blue light guys, as I call them, are given so much time by government to respond. Their response times. The response times are going down minute by minute, and the other times, you know, the traffic, everything else, the population is going up and up. So how are they supposed to get through? The traffic congestion, as I say, is horrendous. Every car you put on the road, and we're not there yet with electric cars, perhaps another 20, 30 years. I'm great. I don't drive. So, you know, I don't add to that unless I get on a bus. But the actual traffic pollution, by the day, by the week, is going up and up. Go stand on Rainhill Bridge, just and observe. Instead of looking forward like that or backwards, look down and you see it constantly coming out the exhaust. This brings me basically to a bit of a sensitive subject, and I really wish not to offend anybody if you have personal connection. Respiratory diseases, mainly caused through pollution, etc., etc., which go on to CVD, which go on to also cancer. Okay? The worst town in England, I'm not saying the UK, according to national figures released and also escorted by details from St Helens Council, is St Helens, with 51.9 people dead per 100,000, which doesn't sound a great deal, you know. England is 33.1. The northwest of England is 44.3. Right? And they're on about putting all these thousands more cars in our area, in Thasso Heath's area, in St Helens, in Eccleston, everywhere else. Right? We're the worst in the country up to 2015. We haven't got any more stats after this. The worst area, or the worst ward in the town, in the borough, is the town centre. The worst, the second worst is Thasso Heath. Now, unless my recollection is wrong, Thasso Heath's next door, isn't it? It's just up the road. The best, fine, great, at least we've got a best, is Rainford. You know, and I'm not jealous, good luck to them. I respect that, right? Good on them, they're fighting the same as we are. They're fighting against losing some of their greenery. Do you want more deaths? An ambulance comes out through the congested traffic, through everything else, he gets to you, he picks you up, you're on your last leg, somebody gets in the back of the ambulance with you, helping you with your breathing, gets through eventually to Wiston Hospital to be faced with a 14 ambulance queue. Fact. Puts you in the corridors on an ambulance trolley with a paramedic at the side of you. Fact. In the last few weeks. And I mean the last few weeks. Wiston Hospital since January the 1st has given out 5 alerts since do not come here, unless you're under a blue light, unless you are desperate. Go to your GP, go to a drop-in centre, etc. Right? Because they can't handle you. We've got photographs of this. All right? And I mean that, we've got photographs. We've got our own members who've experienced it. There's a gentleman who was in the cardiac ward, and suddenly they've been bringing people into the cardiac ward to get them off the corridors. About 3 weeks ago that was. So, those, without wishing to get emotional, and I am getting emotional, basically comes near enough to the end of what I want to say. We're fastly approaching where the council will come out with, and I think I've got the title right, no doubt somebody will tell me if I'm not, is the preferred document, which is coming out approximately, as I've been told. I don't think there's any actual factual statements on it, or date, but it's coming out around about August-ish, maybe July, maybe September. For us to act on that, and act like we did last year, we brought in independent planning consultants who proved without any shadow of doubt that the second document, 100 odd pages I think it was, you could download offline or you could buy it for £16 in the planning office, was, and I quote, fully flawed. The majority was using the word assuming or assumed, and illegal. Alright, that was a council document, and that was sent in, highlighted. Okay, with our bundle that went in midday 30th of January. Okay, that is what we're up against. We need professionals, professional planners, we need other professionals, highway professionals, which we've already got one on board. Right? We need people with their own expertise. Okay? If you know anything about pylons, you can't build within 700, not 700, I can't remember, but it's big distance anyway between the bottom line and any aerial or anything like that. Of course, yeah, I think it's about 700 foot or something. But, as I say, I'm not swearing on that. You know, if there's anything at all that you feel about yourselves, your family, your grandfamilies, and so on, and your place here that you call home, you want to be with us. We need to find, and I'll finish totally on this, we need to find very, very quickly between £18,000 and £26,000. We're working on it. If every house in Rainhill was to pay us a fiver, right, we'd be there. I mean that. We'll take money anyhow, we're not proud, right? PayPal, direct banking, you can drop it through the door, Treasurer will take it off you, she takes my money, so sure, she'll take yours. So, as I say, we need that money. It might sound mercenary, it is. We're fighting for everybody, and we're looking for volunteers. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you very much indeed, John. And I'll call upon Donna Greaves, Vice Chair of the committee, to talk about social sites, website and networking to do this campaign.
Right, good evening everybody. It's really brilliant to see some old faces that have been here right from the start when we started out, and see lots of new faces. I mean, I have to say, and I've said it to a few of you coming in, this is how it should have been 15 months ago. It is brilliant that everybody's here tonight, but it's taken 15 months of momentum to get everybody galvanised and get everybody into the village and doing this. I just want to say thank you to John, because he's a granddad at the end of the day. We didn't ask for this. This came about, and I'll introduce myself. I'm Donna Greaves, and most people will know me as Donna Madge on social media. We never asked for this, we didn't want it. This has consumed our lives. He's got grandkids that he doesn't see. We've all got lives. The steering group are before you today, there's 13 of us, and we didn't ask for any of this, but we couldn't not act. I couldn't sleep in my bed at night knowing what was about to go on. The reason that I'm saying that to you is because we're not professionals, so please take us as you find us. At the end of the day, we're learning as we go along, and everybody you see in a green t-shirt is learning as they go along as well. I became involved in November 2016 because I saw John as I was actually wherever Pauline is, I was at Pauline's, And he said to me, "Hey Donna, have you seen this? Lib Dems have got a meeting going on over at Eccleston Park Golf Club being sold and being built on." So I had a little look and I was like, this isn't right. Why don't I know about this? Why has my political party not told me anything about this? I don't know. So we ended up getting a few of us together, we talked about it, and then within a matter of sort of days we launched the Facebook site. The Facebook site's got nearly 1,500 people with it at the moment, but it does far reach beyond that because we've got links to things like Prescott Chat, Rainhill Mums, the Civic Society, loads of other places that are interested. Even Scrap the Mersey Tolls want to know what we're doing because obviously everything is interconnected in the northwest, the traffic and the pollution and everything else that's going on. I was appalled when I found out what the plans were for Eccleston Park Golf Club, because most of you know that the building's gone on Scotch Barn, it's gone on all the way across the borough in different areas that border St Helens with Knowsley. Yeah, if you look at the junction of Two Butt Lane, you've got so much that's being built around that one little area, and we've already got chicanes in that area, and John was actually instrumental in getting those chicanes put down Two Butt Lane, because I think it was, 3 or 4 cars that went into the side of the houses. So we already know there's a problem with that lane. But anyway, someone in their infinite wisdom has decided that that's a good plot of land to sell. And I don't care what anybody says, but at the end of the day, they say that it's been sold. It's been sold for 4 or 5 times its market value. The golf course was up for sale, was it for 1.3, 4, something like that. It's gone for about 6, 7? Yeah, okay. You don't do that. You do not pay that type of money unless you are guaranteed or you have got a cast iron assurance somewhere along the line that is going to be given planning permission. I'm sorry, you might want to disagree with me, and I'm sure the councillors in the room may do in a minute, and that's your prerogative. But what happened was we had to get the word out to people. Today we've got loads of people in front of us, but 15 months ago we hardly had anyone sat in front of us. But we've campaigned and campaigned, we've had conversations in the butchers. Can't ever go to the barbers because if you go, Anne will just have you. A haircut and a chat, honest to God. The amount of people that come off that barbers knowing all about the green belt is unbelievable. But we've all done it. It has consumed our lives for the last 15 months. And we are just normal residents. None of us asked for this, but we found ourselves thrown into something that we thought was absolutely unfair. And we wanted to know more information. So the Facebook site was born. As I say, we've got 1,500 members on that. We launched Twitter, we've got just under 500 members that follow us on there. And then Will, who's at the end, he also got our website up because some people are not social media savvy and they're frightened of that in case they think they're launching a missile in North Korea or somewhere. So what they'll do is they'll go onto the website because they trust that. And you know, I'm using humour and I will always use humour, and I posted a very humorous post, I think, on Prescott Chat a couple of days ago, which Kate's going to pick up on in a minute, which was in response to the Scotch Barn Rise? It's a lovely new area that no one's ever heard of. But we did have a bit of a laugh over that, but that's what we're trying to do. We try and make it humorous. We've got lots of facts and figures, and sometimes that bores the pants off me. I need to see it visually. What am I going to lose, and what does this mean to me? And I'm sure when you sat in the traffic going through, you know, the village, and then you're trying to get onto the motorways, that's what resonates with all of you. Or when you're trying to get an appointment with the doctors or the dentist, or you can't get into the local schools, that will be what resonates with you. We do try and be humorous, but you know, we do have several admins because the social media has grown and grown and grown, so it isn't just my one-man band. There's lots of us now that look after Facebook, lots of us that look after Twitter, so it isn't all just me that comments on there. We try to be fair, we try to be honest, we try to be apolitical, because in this room, believe it or not, against the people who are sat here, you've got every political party, including an independent. So it's not like we're all Labour, we're not all Conservative, we're not all Lib Dems, we're not all Greens. We'll take support from wherever we've got it, because the common goal at the end of the day is that we don't want the green belt to be built upon. That is the common goal. Doesn't matter what party you belong to, that is what we're about. Such is the level of concern and interest that we are receiving, literally over 10,000 hits a week to our Facebook pages and our Twitter. And it breaks my heart, and it's not uncommon to get messages like we had about 48 hours ago from a young lady who contacted me to say she was new to the area, they bought the house, and in nowhere in the searches did it mention that opposite where she just bought, there was a potential to have over 1,000 houses being built on there. And when I spoke to her on the phone, she was in tears. And I hate calls like that, and that's not the first or the last call that I will take during this campaign, but people don't expect that. And if you had the information, would you have bought that house? The people who live in Ryder Court, have you got people here today who live in Ryder Court and live on the golf club?
Yeah.
Would you bought your house if you'd have known you were going to be the nucleus or the bullseye in a massive housing development? No. And the people who are living around that wouldn't have bought their houses either. So it's things like that that we're about. We're about getting the information out there, because if you've got the information, you've got the choice. And at the moment, there isn't the choice, because it's either being done on your behalf or it's not. What John mentioned before, you know, the infrastructure isn't there, and I won't go into it too much because Kate will talk about it in a minute, but we haven't got the roads, we haven't got the doctors, we haven't got the dentists, we haven't got the schools. You know, we haven't got those facilities, and it isn't just about Rainhill, and it isn't just about St Helens building, because we border Halton. Most of you will now be aware that Norlands Lane and back of Pexhill, they're looking to build on there. If you're going to access the motorway junction, where are you going? Where are we all going to try and get onto? Are we going on to Junction 6, which is Whiston? Are we all going to try and jump on with Halsnede Village as well, one of the 14 new government villages? Are we all going to try and get on that by going down Blundell's Hill, when they're coming up Blundell's Hill to try and get on Junction 7? Or are we going to then try and battle our way along past the Safari Park and try and get on by Brownsfield and round there? Because believe it or not, they're going to build there as well. There's a map on that board, and I would absolutely suggest that everybody looks at that map. Our area, the 3 areas we're talking about, is tiny. They're up on there. The red ones are the areas that we're not even involved in. They're other areas. The areas that are marked on there that are in green with the red on them, they're the 3 little areas. 3, I say little. The amount of development is huge. And the threat to things like the infrastructure, the roads, the pollution, the doctors, the schools, the NHS. John's just mentioned about Whiston being on lockdown. What he didn't say was, my dad had a heart attack in November last year, and when he had a heart attack, we didn't even get into A&E. We didn't even get into the ambulance station at A&E. We sat on a trolley in the corridor, and we didn't actually make it into A&E, because A&E at that time, that was the worst day for the whole of 2017. So my dad didn't even get into A&E. He was seen in an ambulance station at the back of A&E. And then he was taken up to a ward and he had a heart attack, but we didn't even realise that at the time. But that was the reality, and it would only get worse. I feel very passionate about this because I live in this area, and so does everybody in this room, or you're affected by what's happening in this area. Yet there are councillors who've mocked us. I'm not an NIMBY. Where I live, it's not happening in my backyard. It is happening at the bottom of my road, and as a foster carer, I like to think that when I have children placed with me, that they can go out on their bikes and they can play. So I don't want an extra 1,000 cars, an extra 1,000 houses, 2.4 cars, do the maths. I don't want over 2,500 cars, lorries, next lorries, the water, the gas, the utilities, bobbing up and down where I live, because I want to be able to put the children out there to play. So I don't want that. So if that makes me a NIMBY, hello, good evening, my name's Donna Greaves and I'm an NIMBY, because that is what I'm talking about. We've been ridiculed on social media because there's quite a few of the councillors that have very firmly nailed their colours to the cross, and then they ridicule us because we're saying that we don't want this to be built upon. And considering that on the very first day that the local plan was open for consultation, when most of you in this room put in your emails or sent off your objection letters, we had councillors that took to social media going, what a wonderful thing this is going to be, literally that it was a done deal, and it wasn't a done deal. And that really negates the process, because it's supposed to be a fair and democratic process, and your letters are supposed to matter, which is why we felt really strongly about everybody's letters being included and everybody's views being included as well. I would like to hold account people that have called us NIMBYs, and I would like to hold account some of the behaviours that have taken place. And I would like councillors all across every single party to be accountable, open, transparent and honest about their involvement or non-involvement in this plan. I'm very pleased that we have got several councillors here this evening, but I would also say, where were you 15 months ago? Sorry. We have a steering group with 13 people on it, and I have to say the 13 people are just ordinary members. They didn't ask for this, but they've got involved because they feel passionate about it. So can I ask you to put your hands together for the steering group who worked tirelessly. The steering group worked tirelessly. I've got one mum, I won't point her out, but as soon as the kids are dropped off at school, she's on the laptop, beavering away for freedom of information requests. I've never known anything like it. but she's never had that experience before, and she's been detrimental in how we've gone forward with challenging figures, challenging reports, getting statistics, getting everything that we've needed. This is just an ordinary mum that drops the kids at school but feels that passionate about where her children are being brought up that she gets on the internet and she starts looking through, makes associations between people who work within the council, people who work on housing associations, previous employment, networks, so on, because we are trying to build a web and we are trying to see what motivates people to vote this plan through. So they're the people. We might have a heart and a mind, and we very often argue over the heart and the mind, but the spine of the people that you've got in front of you here, we only all work together because we feel passionately about what's going on. They're the people that distribute the information, they're the ones that look after social media, and without them we couldn't function. But do you know what? None of that matters, because we do face an uphill battle, and if we are going to be taken seriously and we're going to contest things that we're being shown, we haven't got the expertise. We need you to go away and talk to your family, your extended family, your neighbours. If anyone's got any skills, anything that can help us, you need to step up. If anyone wants to do any sort of like legal work, you need to step up and support us. Anybody who's got knowledge on planning, anything like that, we need your support because we don't have the expertise. We are just normal people who've been thrust into this because we feel passionately about what's happening. So if you have anybody that can support us, you please need to make yourself known to us. And the other thing is, we need financial support. And as John said, there's 5,000 houses or just under in Rainhill, and all we need is £5 from each house, and we would have somewhere in the region to get legal expertise that can stand up in these planning application meetings and stand there and put our case across about why this is wrong. We want progress. I know you've all seen the leaflets that have gone round about, you know, Rainhill Village is going to be the next Stockton Heath, but you try getting up London Road, and I'm not going to take Kate's thunder, but, you know, there's things that we want, and then there's other things that need to be done first, and it isn't a case of build it and they will come. No, I'm going to second build it, and nobody will be able to go from A to B because the roads will be so congested. Your kids won't get into school. I've made lots of jokes about that, but you know what, it is actually serious now. So I am going to pass you back, but I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because this is how it should have been 15 months ago when we ended up starting all this off. And I can only say thank you so much for coming along to show your support this evening. Thank you.
And now I call upon Anne Veronica Howard to talk about the heritage of Rainhill.
Thank you, everyone. I know that not everyone lives within the Rainhill boundaries that's here today, but you're all very close neighbours, and if you don't mind, I will address you as part of the Rainhill community. So, could I ask everyone who was born in Rainhill, who came to Rainhill as a child with their parents, or who has a mature adult chose to live in the Rainhill community, which includes Thatcher Heath and Foxwood and Portico and those sort of things. Could you all raise your hands, please? Funnily enough, that seems to be most people except our parish councillors. Fourth generation Rainhill on my mother's side. On my father's side, for the last 450 years, none of my direct ancestors had lived more than 5 miles from where we're sitting now. Some of you will be aware of the phrase, Cumbrian sheep are hefted onto the fells, which simply means that they're free to wander over the fell side without walls or fences, but that's because they know where they belong. And I think I can say that I'm well and truly hefted on Rainhill. All this heritage that's passed through families is loves, hopes, dreams, experiences. That's passed down in our families from father to son, from mother to daughter, down through the generations, and that's part of our heritage in Rainhill. The other part is the physical heritage. Those of you who ploughed your way through the local plan will have found at section 3.13 a statement that historic links will be recognised in the assessment of constraints for development. But then it goes on to say, the borough has no historic areas. Now, I find it incredibly hard to believe that the very expensive consultants who put together that report and the councillors who waved it through have not heard of the Rainhill trials. Is that likely? So that is one of our concerns, that there isn't the full appreciation of what we have here and what we stand to lose. All the proposed development sites are rich in heritage. If we start with Eccleston Park Golf Club, that is regarded as Rainhill Hospital. Yes, it was Rainhill Hospital, but it was never built on. It was Rainhill Hospital Farm. And Rainhill Hospital Farm formed the most fantastic function for almost 200 years. Not only did it grow food to feed both the patients and the staff, but also the local community. In World War I, the hospital changed society in many ways, because when the men went off to war, the women, who for the first time had the opportunity for jobs and careers outside the home, went in their dozens to work as nurses and support staff in the hospital. The hospital was very busy and full of shell-shocked people. Those shell-shocked people, we would now say, were suffering from post-traumatic stress. But the fields and grounds of the hospital provided them with part of their rehabilitation, to walk through the fields, to do light work on the farm itself, to feed the pigs, all this sort of thing. It was a very important part of the therapy. In World War II, the patients there did their own war work, and huge frames were put up on the fields and in the grounds, and the patients did their camouflage nets. The nets were thrown over the frames, and the patients tied pieces of ribbon or camouflage material onto them so that they could be used as camouflage in the trenches and so on. A section of Rainhill Hospital became a naval hospital. The patients there were mainly suffering from physical problems, as a result of the war. The Navy brought their own staff to deal with that, and those people too, as they got better, were working in the fields, walking in the fields, enjoying the fresh air, listening to the birds, all the things that were so important to their mental well-being as well as their physical well-being. A third section of Rainhill Hospital was used to shelter mainly mums, because the dads were at war, and the children from bombed out Liverpool. My own mother, who's 95, still has tears in her eyes when she talks about her VAD work, which was on the hill coming up into Prescott in one of the buildings there, where she greeted and moved on to Rainhill Hospital the mothers who had been bombed, dirty, crying, prams loaded with babies and toddlers, anything they could grab. And they were given cups of tea, changes of clothes, food, and moved to Rainhill. And who could imagine the importance of the farm and the grounds at Rainhill Hospital for those inner city children from the docks and central Liverpool who had gone through this enormous, painful experience without their dads and left with crying mums to walk all that way. What an important part of our heritage that is. For the last number of years, of course, we have had the golf club there. And the golf club has fulfilled the same requirements for physical, mental and emotional health for the community. And it has also been a place where it's full of biodiversity and habitat for all the wonderful animals, birds, kingfishers, insects. That habitat cannot be replaced anywhere around here. We have to actually understand that. It just cannot be replaced. And that is land that has never ever been built on. It's changed its function from food producing to leisure, but it's never been built on. Across the road is Hanging Bridge Farm. In 1921, the hospital bought Hanging Bridge Farm, and it was added into the main hospital farm, if you like. The land runs alongside Elton Head Farm. Elton Head Farm is the part of the estate of Lord Salisbury. It's his only foothold in the north of England. Elton Head Farmhouse is the oldest habitation in the borough, parts of it dating from the 12th century, which is an incredibly old place. At that time, it was part of the Norris family estate from Speke Hall. If we zoom, would you believe, 500 years closer to us now, the farmer there was a guy called Richard Elton Head. He had 5 daughters, and reputedly these daughters were both beautiful and intelligent, but then aren't all Rainhill girls. In 1640, he made a huge decision, thinking that he hadn't got the suitable calibre of young men to marry his daughters to. So he was a very early immigrant to America. There one can only presume these beautiful and intelligent young women met their match, because all 5 married. And they began 5 dynasties of the most fantastic people who have peppered the new world with their skills and their abilities. I'll just mention to you 3 of them. General Robert E. Lee, the chief Confederate general, was a descendant of a Rainhill girl. James Madison, he was a very successful businessman and philanthropist. Madison Avenue, Madison Square, Madison Gardens, all named after James Madison, again a descendant of a Rainhill girl. And, wait for this one, Barack Obama is the descendant of a Rainhill girl. And yes, before you ask, he is aware of the Rainhill connection. The land runs through to the Liverpool-Manchester Railway, which is in the final stages of its preparation to be put forward as a World Heritage Site. Close to that, going through it, is the Bourne Tunnel, which is Grade 2 listed. The Bourne Tunnel was where a horse-drawn train took the coal from both Elton Head collieries, which were there, and Sutton Manor collieries, through to the Turnpike Road, and we believe that it came out within 100 metres of where you're all sitting now, and then on its onward journey to be burnt in home fires and to be used for industry all over the place. Also close there is St Anne's Well. St Anne's Well is a medieval well which was saved in the last 12 months by English Heritage from being completely destroyed, and it is the same listing status as Stonehenge. So, no history? Don't think so. So we move then to the land south of Mill Lane. On the corner at the Stoops is the smithy. It's hard to overestimate the importance of the smithy when the turnpike was running. The number of farm horses, carriage horses, stagecoach horses that would need the work of the smithy, and that's without things like pots and pans and mending farm implements and all that sort of thing. We then moved to Manor Farm. Manor Farm was built in 1662. It was farmed from the farmhouse until 1970. It's still farmed today, but the farmhouse, as we all know, I expect most people have had the odd pint in there or something. But it is still farmland that has been farmed from time immemorial. Most of us will have fed the ducks, on the pond there. The pond is the last vestige of the moat which surrounded the farm originally. If we then move up the hill, we pass Tower College, an iconic building, to Briars Hay. Briars Hay, Grade 2 listed, built in 1868 for John Crossley, the glass manufacturer. It's considered to be the most important domestic design by the famous architect William Breakspear. Almost opposite, we've got the coffin rest. The coffin rest is medieval. That's the stepped sort of stones at the bottom. And it was literally where the coffin was rested when they journeyed from Farnworth Church to Prescott Church, the two very ancient churches close to us, long before Rainhill had a church. In the 1820s, when the successful Bartholomew Bretherton moved to Rainhill, he ordered the cross to be put up, specifically so that as you approached Rainhill from the Mersey, it stood proud on the skyline and was a landmark for people. In 1893, the English gazetteer was said that the view from there was one of the finest in Lancashire and the only place in Lancashire which could see another country. And it can certainly, on any decent day, you can see the Welsh hills, and this last week we've been seeing the snow on the Welsh hills. There is another important aspect which has been touched on of heritage, which isn't on the green belt, but undoubtedly would suffer unbelievably if all this building and all these other vehicles take on, and that's Skew Bridge. Skew Bridge, Grade 2 listed, was built in 1830, and it was built just for the stagecoach, a few farmers' carts, the odd gentleman's carriage to go over. You can't spend any time in Rainhill without knowing how many hours every day stationary heavy goods vehicles and cars are on there waiting for the congestion, waiting for the lights to change, vibrating with their engines and rocking those precious stones that's internationally known as the first Skew Bridge. There's another heritage matter that I'd like to mention today. 22nd of March, 100 years ago today, the young Osmond Stapleton Bretherton died on the battlefields of France. He actually met two Rainhill men immediately before it, greeted them and walked away into the woods, and unfortunately was killed there. He was just 20. He was the only son and heir of Frederick Bartholomew and Bertha Stapleton Bretherton. His grandfather, Frederick Ansley Stapleton Bretherton, owned the Rainhill estate and Rainhill Hall. Sadly, both of them, both the grandparents, died immediately after the end of the war in 1919, overcome by the sorrow, loss and tensions of the war that they'd had. Osmond's father inherited the estate and the house. I don't think we're imagining too much to think that his decision to sell the hall and break up the estate was greatly affected by the fact that his son and heir had died only a few months before. In 1924, the hall was sold to the Jesuits, where it has been until indeed the last few months. I think we can all imagine how different Rainhill could have been if this young man had returned from the war, married and started a family that would have gone down through the generations, and land like the ones we've just been talking about at Ram Manor Farm would still have been probably in the family. So that has been a really big change that came about because of that. I started talking with a little bit of audience participation when you raised your hands. I'd like to do another one. I was going to ask you to stand up, but I think we're in such a crowd that I'm sure respect can be paid sitting down as well as those standing up. So please can I ask you for a minute's silence to remember Osmond and the other Rainhill men who died in their hundreds to preserve the grain fields of home. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Now moving on, Kate Stevenson-Black will now expand on a few of the topics we've heard about already. Okay.
Born Ledbetter, by the way, just in case anybody knows that name in Rainhill. I think tonight there's been a really good combination of facts that have been handed out, but I think it's also been quite clear that it's a very, very serious matter. As a steering group as a whole, we do work very late into the night. We do have a second job, which is this. There are hours and hours and hours of our time responding, hopefully, to the messages that you send through to us, questions that you send through to us. So please continue with that. But we do like to have a little bit of fun. One of the things that sprung to light this week was a beautiful brochure for Callans Park, if that's right, am I right with that? For the new housing estate in on Scotch Barn Lane. And yeah, it was very entertaining, but it kind of made us think maybe we should create our own brochure for Eccleston Park Village, as it will now be known. So within the Eccleston Park Village, and this is purely, I have to stress for the benefit of the tape, this is just our opinion. There are some facts within it that I'm going to read out, and there's quite a few facts that I'm really happy to provide a reference for. If you email us, if you want the references for the facts that are within it, by all means I'll provide you with a source. However, I would like to introduce you to Eccleston Park Village, a wonderful place to call home. Located about 1 mile east of Rainhill Village, you will find Eccleston Park Village. That's a village within a village, which could be confusing, but don't worry, the council renamed Rainhill in 2016 as a district centre. So you'll be living in the only village in the area, except it will just be houses and not an actual village. Close-ish to the village, the district centre's station, Eccleston Park Village offers a superb range of local amenities and education facilities in a well-established community. We could say historical community, but you're not likely to be from around here as commuters, so you probably won't be interested in that. And actually when we mention history or heritage, such as listed buildings and the Rainhill trials, it tends to complicate and sometimes delay planning approvals and building, and we don't want that, do we? Just a short drive to the A57 and access to the M62 makes commuting to Liverpool and Manchester easy. You can be in Liverpool in 20 minutes. If you fly. You've stolen my thunder. And Manchester in 40 minutes. So buying a house here, you'll be well placed for access to one of these majestic cities. Providing you're happy to leave for work at 3 in the morning, that is. If you're more of a 9 to 5 kind of a commuter moving here, access to the M62 will actually be hampered by the beautiful gridlock traffic along Warrington Road, which will be a daily battleground between you, existing villagers who are well hardened in this battle, by the way, and the other 1,000 commuters from the lovely new housing estates also at Hanging Bridge Farm and Mill Lane. The previously, and I say previously rural Norlands Lane, will also contribute to this, making access to any motorway junction a scene familiar from the once popular Krypton factor, providing you with plenty of time to reflect on the day ahead as you spend an hour nudging forward in first gear. The area, however, has many vehicle garages that will be happy to assist you should you suffer clutch burn or encounter problems with potholes on the 20 kilometres of St Helens roads that are eagerly awaiting improvement. You will also have the luxury of commuting to Chester and experiencing an old-fashioned toll bridge, which has recently been introduced as an absolute nod to the infamous Dick Turpin. As commuters, we recommend you equip your vehicle with emergency provisions, such as a spare tyre or two, thank you Donna, breakfast and dinner, it's the same battle on the journey home, and enjoy becoming accustomed to the continental rush hour feel that an additional 5,000 potential cars on the local A and B roads will bring you. Some of the locals may try to get one up on you, and for those superior NIMBYs, as our local council leader refers to them, who think they'll slip nicely through Whiston or Dragon Lane and Blundell's Hill, we also have the stunning new Holsmead Village, yielding a further 3,000 plus cars to add to the merriment of your commute or school run. The train links are well positioned if the daily wacky races isn't your choice. There's free parking for the 20 spaces reserved in Rainhill. So remember to get there nice and early to secure one. Plans for additional parking is one of the area's best kept secrets, and probably part of the ultimate top secret council's vision for Rainhill. You will have the chance to take part in the Rainhill Vision consultation, and it can be very exciting filtering through the cleverly double-meaning documents and the multiple plans whilst trying to construct a response in a teeny tiny time frame as it transpires over the lovely summer period. I mentioned school run. Obviously your school run will take you outside of the area of Rainhill to schools further afield that may sadly be lacking on their Ofsted reports, but do have vacancies for one's cherubs to attend to learn alternative skills to academia such as canoeing and camping. The council have a fantastic plan to increase local primary school places by up to 300, but these are likely to be gobbled up by the greedy, selfish NIMBY children already living here. For high schools, there may be an additional 30 places available, so it's advisable to get your names down as quickly as possible to guarantee access to an education ranked 148th in the UK. There are only 152 local authorities in total, so you can see the amazing opportunity your children have to become rising stars. There are, of course, 2 beautiful new hospitals in the local area, which have been so successful that they constantly run to capacity. Haven't they done well? We did hear they may have closed their doors to new customers on a couple of occasions, but you lovely new 5,000 commuters won't get ill, will you, with your quinoa salads? Well, at least not to begin with. We do recommend you use the multicoloured gas masks provided in the downstairs cloakroom of your new home when visiting some local areas, to prevent inhalation of the air, which can be a problem with all the HGV traffic from the shiny warehouses surrounding the village, the removal of multiple parks in the local areas around Rainhill. Unfortunately, outdoor air pollution is only responsible for just under 6% of deaths in St Helens. The local GPs will be happy to see you in a small and friendly queue at 8 o'clock in the morning as you wait for the allocation of a daily appointment. Phone calls for same-day appointments are so outdated. Far better to get there early and do it in person. A handy DIY dentistry video is also available with your kitchen and bathroom request pack. as you'll soon need to become a dab hand with a drill, or the tried and tested method of shutting door and piece of string around molar, a common method from the popular late 60s, early 70s. We do recommend exercise such as taking a walk in the countryside, the parts that haven't been built on yet, that is. Playing golf, no, sorry, your house was actually built on that course. Or maybe a gentle workout with some weights. Again, we've provided you with the equipment for weightlifting once a week, which some people like to call recycling. 75 different boxes and bags will be filled to the brim each week and will require moving from the convenient place that you store them to the roadside, where the friendly recycling team can collect them and earn you some exciting points on an email. Exercise can be increased during the winter months as you run around on your return from work, collecting your pink bags and box lids, which scatter themselves across your village gardens. It's a fantastic way to meet new neighbours and make new friends. Additional exercise can also be provided by travelling into the local town of St Helens and running around attempting to complete all of your errands before your parking tickets expire. The hidden cameras on the range are exceptionally fun and bring a Crystal Maze type theme to an otherwise uneventful day as you try to avoid a PCM. There is a diverse range of wildlife in the area which will also make itself known to you. Due to the exciting developments on previous greenbelt in the borough and the removal of significant woodlands, sparrowhawks are now actually a frequent visitor to gardens in the area. The thrilling experience of seeing them killing your noisy songbirds and flying away with their bodies will be a common vision. Great for the children to see, although small pets such as rabbits and guinea pigs should probably be kept secure. As there is currently a consultation on a futuristic move to a 3-weekly brown bin collection, you may also have the pleasure of some large brown furry creatures at your roadside. Very friendly. All in all, it will be a lovely area to live, with high density housing, low density common sense, and very little greenery or open space. A real return to the vintage concrete jungles of the 70s, with the added beauty of double glazing, 2 en-suites, a walk-in wardrobe, and block paving for 2 cars. We look forward to welcoming you to your new home at Eccleston Park Village. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kate, for painting that pretty picture of the future. Now, as mentioned, we do have several councillors here. We have Councillor Steve Glover, who is the elected member for Rainhill. I don't know whether he wants to say a few of this over there. If you may put your hand up again.
Just a couple of points of clarification, really.
Sure, come over and have a microphone.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Anne for giving us all the history, some of which I didn't know, but bear in mind, as ward councillors and parish councillors, we do know about the history of Rainhill, and we perhaps should ask the local authority to get these guys who wrote the local plan so that you can show them what's in the area. There was a statement earlier that some local councillors had 15 months ago said belittling statements regarding it might be a waste of time, it's a done deal. I'm hoping that you can agree with me that I was never one of those. Somebody stated that. I've heard it.
I'm referring to 2 other councillors, but we can talk about that later and you know who those 2 other
But
councillors are.
clearly I have not been one of those who has said anything derogatory about the actions that you're taking forward. Is that for a comment?
Oh, I'm not sure. What did you say, sorry? You know who I'm talking about.
I am not I am a councillor who has never said anything derogatory.
You've not said anything
Thank you.
at all.
Will you at least admit that the last meeting you had here, I also attended, and there was a question and answer.
Yeah, and there will be shortly.
So this is the second time I've come to here. So I'm not shying away in any way. The only other thing I will say is that the local plan does not belong to the councillors. It belongs to the local authority. And I'm sure Councillor Haw would be the first one to run round and complain about certain other areas that he is in his patch and be very demonstrative about those. I knew about this exactly the same time as he did and exactly the same time as other ward councillors did. I'm very happy to take questions later. I just wanted to state that now. I'm here to be truthful and to give the best answers I can.
Well, yes, thank you very much, indeed, Councillor Glover. So I'll just let Councillor Michael. Let Councillor Michael Hoare have a word. Councillor Hoare is a member for Eccleston, anyway.
Just to respond to Steve's point there. Yes, Steve, you know, we did know at the same time, but the difference was 4 days after the local plan was published, in Eccleston and Eccleston Park, we as councillors organised 2 public meetings, and at those public meetings, we were straight with residents, we said, we are against this local plan.
Yes.
That's simple. So that is the difference.
But I'll hand you over to Mr. James Tasker, who is the independent candidate for Rainhill, who would like to say a few words to you.
Thank you for that. Hi, I'm James Tasker, so I'm the independent candidate for Rainhill. Before I start, I'd like to thank John. I'd like to thank everyone from Rainhill Save Our Greenbelt for inviting me here tonight, and also you guys for turning up as well. Thank you for that. So just a little bit about myself. I've recently turned 29. I've been in and around Rainhill pretty much all my life. Just a local lad who cares about where he's from. My family lived here as well. I've been to school here. About 6 years ago, me and my wife bought a house here, and now we raise our 2 daughters here as well. Elizabeth, she's 4 years old, and Caroline, she's 2. I'm also a governor at a local school in Rainhill, and I'm also part of the local civic society along with Anne and a few other guys. So I'm very passionate about Rainhill. I care about where I live. I don't want to see it being destroyed. Being an independent candidate, I've only ever been a member of one political party, and that political party was the Labour Party. Up until recently, I had to leave the party because of what I'd seen. What was going on is just, it's undemocratic. It's not what I thought the Labour Party was about. And it's sad to see now, it's not everyone in the Labour Party, because I'm sure a lot of you guys here are either members of the Labour Party, ex-members, voters, you may have voted Labour in the past, you may have voted Labour now, and that's not a problem at all. A lot of the Labour guys, members, they're honest people, they're really good people who just want the best for where they live, want the best for the society, best for the community, and that's that. The problem that you have with the Labour Party is, in areas like St Helens, it's that minority. It's always the minority that ruin it for everyone. It always is the case. It's that minority that are here, and what they want to do, they don't want to listen to us, the people. They don't care about us because we're irrelevant to them. They're going to be in power regardless. That's what they do. They can do anything to us. They can do anything they want, and no one will respond. No one's going to do anything. Why would they? St Helens, it's Labour. St Helens, Labour. North West England, it's Labour. No one is here, are they? No one's going to stand up to this. That's why I've come in. Because when I see the local plan, when I see what they want to do, it's nonsense to think that building 20,000 houses, all these warehouses, you're somehow going to save a borough. It's not at all. It's complete madness. There are going to be some positives. You're going to get the new home bonus from central government for building these houses. You're going to get an increase in the council tax for building these executive homes in places like Eccleston Park and Mill Lane, which is, yeah, but it's going to come at a big cost, and that cost is what we've been trying to ask our councillors from the start. So as Steve said, you know, we have been to previous meetings, but as Michael said, them guys in Eccleston, the minute this was released, they stood up and they stood up for their community, whereas Steve and Co, they were the ones behind it. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And what I've been trying to ask them is, when this was released, bringing thousands of people, I'll tell you what people have already said already, where are these people going to send the kids to schools? Because I'm a governor at a school, it's at maximum capacity, as are a lot of the schools in the area. When people get sick, what hospitals do they go to? Because the hospitals are maximum capacity. They need an ambulance, they need police, they need fire brigade. What are they going to do? Where are they going to travel on the road? Because the roads are full. Local services push the limit. We know this because we live here, we're from here, unlike some people. And that's what it means to us, and that's why I want to stand and try and do something, to try and make a difference for my community. As well as trying to fight this local plan, what I want to try and do is try and promote Rainhill. It's not just obviously about the local plan, but about Rainhill and businesses as a whole. I want to try and do what I can, because I think that the success, long-term success, is based on a long-term local economy. So I want to try and do as much as I can. Things like the gala, things like the beer festival, these are great events that bring the community together. And I think as a councillor, you should be at the front, you should be leading that. And I don't see that. I don't see our councillors doing any of that. I only see them come out. I call them like a leap year, because you come out once every 4 years, that's it. Once every 4 years, I see the pictures. And that's it. Once they need the votes, once they need the money, that's it. Once that's happened, once they've gone through the formalities of democracy, they then disappear for another 4 years. You know, I'm sure you've all had a Rainhill Rose, or a leaflet, a pamphlet. How many of them have you had in the last few years? It's no coincidence that in the build-up to an election, you get this material, you get this you know, stuff that they put through. But being an independent candidate, I won't have any political party that I have to answer to other than yourselves. That's it. I don't, you know, I'm not being dictated to by anybody else other than you, the people. But it is hard as an independent to try and come into somewhere like Rainhill, St Helens, which is Labour dominated, because they don't like anyone challenging them. You see, they won't provide any solutions to the problems, but at the same time, they don't want anyone else coming in to try and offer help either. They want to maintain power as much as they can at all costs, and they will stoop very low. And unfortunately, last week or so, I've experienced this firsthand. You know, people like Steve Glover, who's here tonight, as low as he will go. It's very low. Honestly, you wouldn't believe it. But what I'd say...
Not true.
But what I would say is that to people like Steve and the others who are trying to undermine...
Give me the allegations and I'll do that.
Sorry, Steve.
Give me the allegations.
Steve, sorry. You've been a councillor for 15 years, and today you stand up. Today you stand up after 15 years of being a councillor, you're trying to interrupt me, you're trying to do something from Rainhill, cares about Rainhill. You'll have your moment, Steve, okay? Thank you. So...
Can I ask a question, please?
Well, sorry.
We'll take questions at the end, when James is finished.
Yeah, so look, sorry, there will be a question and answer. So yeah, but what I want to say to those people who are trying to undermine me, trying to pick on me because I'm independent, I'm not going to be bullied, I'm not going to be intimidated, I'm not going to run away from my community, because I'm going to stand here and I'm going to fight. That's what I'm here for. I was born here and this is where I'm going to fight. This is my territory, this is me, this is who I am. And this is what I'm going to do for all of you, not just me, but for Rainhill. And you see, the Red Rosette, the people like Steve and the professional socialists, because that's what they are, they're professional socialists, the Red Rosette that they wear does not represent me, does not represent my family, and it does not represent Rainhill. As an independent candidate, what I will do is listen to you, I will fight for you, and I will do what is best for Rainhill. And that's all we need, you know, someone with common sense, local knowledge, and listening to local people. How hard can it be? You know, but that's what we're up against, guys. So I hope that's okay. Yeah. So I'll leave it there. But I hope, honestly, in May we can really make a difference and we can really do something for Rainhill. And it's about time we show these lot that we're not going to be pushed. We're not going to be pushed around no more. Yeah. Stand up and get
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Tasker, and I think John wants to just say a few final points before we go into the question and answer.
Hi, yeah, I've just asked, can I actually make one point, and also I want clarification because I've not seen this, I haven't been told about this. I wonder, we've all seen most likely in the paper recently, in the Star, national government made a mistake and they gave St Helens £36 million too much, right? They're not reclaiming it, they're not asking for it back. So, you know, I wonder where that's going for good use. Also, I don't know, but I'm asking, excuse me, I don't know, but I'm asking this, because I've been told that on Councillor Glover's flyer, it says we have enough land, 80% of the brownfield to complement. I'm not saying this is word for word because I don't know, but 80% of our land required is already is allocatable on brownfield. Is that correct?
I said in my view, there will be an 80% of housing being able to be built on previously used land.
Thank you. And considering that's coming from the chair of the planning committee, right, that person must be pretty knowledgeable. So I wonder why they still have to go and smash through with bulldozers here, Parr, Garswood, Rainford, Eccleston, the lot, and take that surface of green land away. Thanks.
Right, we're now going to have question and answers. Sorry, can we just have a bit of order, please? One at a time. We're going to take the question and answer now. John will direct the people to the relevant experts. So, any questions there?
Oh, hi, sorry, go on. Can you start off with your name and you're a resident of Rainhill?
Okay, I'm a resident of Rainhill. My real name is Stephen Queen.
Okay, cheers, Steve.
I would like to know exactly what Stephen Glover's viewpoint is. Does he support maintaining the green belt in its present state, or does he favour the development in the plan?
Steve, do you want to speak from there or do you want to call them?
If you can hear me, I'll speak from
Can you
here.
all put, yeah? Okay, thank you.
St Helens Authority has to have a local plan. If it doesn't have a local plan, there will be people coming in and building anywhere they want. You can look that up on the internet. That's national government saying you don't have a local
Hang on, please, hang on, please, if you want to speak, can you, thank you, go on, Steve.
I'm coming to what you're asking.
We have planning laws, we have local democracy, we have consultation. It's not people can build everywhere. I can't just build an extension on my house without getting planning permission. You're not right.
Well, if it's complex, I suggest...
Sorry,
But I want to know where you stand on this. Just don't put...
I'm in favour of keeping as much green belt as possible. I've already stated that.
That's not about...
While it's a cop-out, if we don't have a local plan, what I mean to say is, without a local plan, as a developer can come in and he can build on any one of those 3 sites. We can object to it, it goes to the inspector is told by national government, they've no local plan, build on it. That's why we have to put something in place. Like I said, the local plan is not the councillors, it's the authority. I don't want any green belt being built on in Rainhill. No, of course not. And I put representations in, I hope you did, at the same time. And I will be putting them in again when the preferred options come out, which I don't know what they are at the moment.
Sure. Gentleman over there at the back in the black.
If you don't want any green belt built on, what's your acceptable parameters, percentage-wise, for what can be built on? So is it 10% of the green belt? Is it 50% of the green belt? Or is it 0% of the green belt?
My target is 0.
So that's your, so 0%.
My target is 0.
You're supporting this campaign with a 0%.
Of course it's 0.
Just bear with me, with a 0% approach to building on the green belt. So everyone's heard that in this room. We expect you as a councillor to deliver on that promise.
Yes.
Yes. Come May, you'll see the consequences of that.
Yeah, well,
Okay then, anybody else? Any other further questions? Gentleman there, yes, with your hand up.
If I may, I'm Brian Hayden, I'm a Rainhill Parish Councillor. I have been for the last 42 years, 35 of those as a resident of Rainhill. So I think I've got a reasonable stake. I wasn't going to ask to speak, but at the very least I want to put right a misconception that's taken place. First of all, factually, after John and his colleague addressed the Parish Council meeting on the 5th of March, you received an interim reply on the 10th of March, did you not? With a copy of the letter that we sent to Mulberry in response to their request for a meeting with us. No.
John, do you want to reply to
Well,
that?
it's funny, John, because you sent an email to Gillian Pinder at that evening thanking her for doing it on a Saturday.
It was asking for a public meeting, we didn't go.
We went on March the 5th,
Yes.
right? And that was to ask for a public meeting, right, between the council, the parish, members of the parish council, right,
Yes.
and ourselves.
And you got a holding response from Gillian on the 10th of March.
What's the date today? 22nd, sorry. 20,
Well, sorry.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything formal.
Maybe this will jog your memory, because this is the attachment that was sent with it, if I'm allowed to read it out. It's only a single page.
Oh, it's their response to Mulberry, John. Mulberry. It's their response to Mulberry.
I thought,
Thank you for inviting Rainhill Parish Council to discuss the future of Eccleston Park Course. And as its name implies, actually it lies in Eccleston Parish. Rainhill Parish Council has always opposed planning applications for new development on Green Belt. Its long-standing policy is to prioritise the reuse of previously developed land in sustainable locations before greenfield or greenbelt sites. The Council also has a long-standing policy to ensure its ability to represent its residents is not compromised by actions which could be perceived as predetermination. As a submission version of the local plan is expected later this year, it is considered that a meeting at this stage will be premature because the future of the site is currently unclear. Although the site has been identified in the St Helens local plan preferred options as a strategic housing development site, consultation on this document raised a substantial number of objections, the outcome of which will only be known when the submission version of the local plan is released for consultation. The National Planning Policy Framework is clear that the weight afforded to emerging plans is tempered by any unresolved objections. The Council cannot therefore, at the present time, allow the preferred options allocation to influence its judgment. During consultation on the preferred options version of the local plan, the following concerns were raised by residents and the Parish Council in relation to potential development of Eccleston Park Golf Club. Namely, the development would lead to additional traffic congestion on roads that are already nearing their safe capacity, a problem that will be intensified should the high school expand. 2, have a detrimental effect on highway safety for vehicles and pedestrians alike. 3, increase the pressure on schools and nurseries which are already oversubscribed. 4, increase the pressure on social infrastructure, e.g. doctors' surgeries, dentists. 5, exacerbate existing health problems for residents due to increased vehicle pollution. And 6, be detrimental to residential amenity due to the loss of greenbelt. So let's get the facts, the full facts, and not just...
we're not giving part fact, Brian, right? All I was going at, I went through from the 23rd of January 2017, right, to the meetings we've had, okay?
Yeah.
I did
This was
excuse me, I never interrupted you.
No, I'm sorry, I apologise.
I went through them and I repeated on each one. I didn't insult any of them. The one that came back after the December meeting in your parish council, right, that took weeks and weeks and weeks,
Which
right, was a farcical reply. Let's be honest, it was published. They didn't actually answer the questions, it was farcical in everybody's mind.
This was published, John.
I'm afraid we don't hold back, we don't edit, right? You know, we're all voluntary, as I believe the parish council is in its entirety, or some of, right? You know, but we are, right? So where you're different is you are fighting and you've got knowledge, you've got infrastructure, massive infrastructure in those four walls called the town hall. You've got of course you have, you've got your legal people, your planning people, all the rest of it.
We're a parish council, that's
You can go to and talk. But, as I say, but hang on. Okay.
I just wanted to get the facts out there, that's all.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate you getting the facts out, and I think you'll probably appreciate the fact that you've got freedom of speech here and we haven't restricted you to 3 minutes and then cut you off at the end of it. As well is that when you say that your response to us, and it took you 12 months to actually give us a response, following the fact that we had to go to the press, pointing out and calling out the lack of response and the lack of commitment from you. Second thing is, when you say that you can't have a predetermined approach to the local plan, how can it possibly not be predetermined when you have the chair of planning, you have one of the guys that's masterminded the local plan, with the leader of the council that's driving it sat on a parish council? How is it possibly not predetermined?
Okay, gentleman over there with beard.
Right, so I maybe have no knowledge in this, but is there anything in your role as a councillor that prevents you from directly supporting this group?
Within the planning, I'll tell you now, within the planning role, there are no three-line whips. I've heard a statement to that. Everybody is an individual. I have no predetermination.
I know, I'll reword it.
Okay.
Easier. So, is there anything in your role, as what you do, that would prevent you from 15 months ago when this happened, when Donna made the point earlier, from standing alongside these people who want to do what they're doing, alongside them and bringing attention and bringing you know, all the things they've said they've been lacking? Was there anything in your role that stops you specifically from supporting them? If so, fine, but if not, why haven't you done that if you're 0%?
What I did at the time was like everybody else did in here. Read the documents, sent in my problems with it, with regards to various issues.
I'm asking you a specific question. Can you? Is there anything in your role that stops you being able to support those people? Is there anything that negates it, or are you allowed to freely support them? If so, why didn't you 15 months ago?
The St Helens plan as a whole is what we're looking at. I support nil development.
If it's 0% 15 months ago,
Why didn't you spoke to Florida Farm? You registered for Florida Farm? We're talking about St Helens. No, we're talking about you. We're talking about St Helens.
Okay then, we'll leave that there. Gentleman in the blue shirt.
Hi there.
Could you let the gentleman speak, please?
Hi there. I'm actually a resident at Haydock. Live very close to Florida Farm, so this really grinds on me. I'm looking at moving towards Rainhill. I'm actually looking at moving very close to Eccleston Park Golf Course. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I've been done at Florida Farm, I'm about to get done at Eccleston Park Golf Course. Can you tell me that this is not predetermined? Because Florida Farm certainly was. And you just said, I heard the words come from your mouth then, saying, this isn't Florida Farm, this is Eccleston Park. It's St Helens, it's your borough, it's your district. Where are you? What is your agenda? Who are you representing? Because it isn't me. It isn't us. Have you seen the destruction
I'll
of Florida
reiterate
Farm.
if
The
I can-
destruction.
If I can reiterate my
To
point.
build sheds. To build bloody sheds.
Yeah, true, true.
Okay, if we could have some silence, if Councillor Glenn would like to just respond one last time.
I wanted to reiterate that anybody on the planning committee has a right to hear their own views and to not be predetermined. When Florida Farm came before that committee, there was no predetermination. It was agreed on the night, as it should be.
Right. As a resident at Haydock, I got the leaflet through the door about 18 months ago. Berricott Properties, Berricott. They are the developer. They held a very plush event, inviting the locals along about their consultation. These developers don't spend vast amount of money on something that is a whim. They've obviously got an insight, because they don't spend money hiring hotel rooms, buying plots of land, putting glossy magazines out, putting websites up. They don't spend this money. They don't get legal representatives in unless it's a done deal. And I stood there and I asked the property director for Berricott Properties, or Berricott Estates, I asked him outright, is this a done deal? No, it's not a done deal, but we're looking to start work in January 18.
And they did. Spot on.
They started in January 18. It was a done deal.
Okay, any more questions at all? Gentleman over there in the maroon jumper.
Yeah, can I ask the council, how much money are you going to spend on, there's a new report coming out later this year. How much have you spent on management consultants again? You spent £210,000, didn't you, on the last one, which could have been,
I'm sorry, I'm lost. I don't know what you're talking about.
So you sent out. But all I'm saying, the other thing is, how much you spend, perhaps you can tell me sometime or other.
I have no knowledge of that.
Well, who has knowledge of it? The chief executive, has he got knowledge?
Possibly the chief
Perhaps he
executive.
can write to me and tell how much money are you spending on these things when this council is totally bankrupt to spend on the majority of social care for the poor, the elderly, the mentally ill, or whatever else. Can you also tell me how have you exhausted all brownfield sites in this area? No. And on an historical dinosaur basis, the council, I think, maybe you shoot me down, has history about Rainhill Hospital in 1990, about allowing contractors to come in and push trees that have been there 100 years down. Yes. You had to put preservation orders on the few trees that were left because these pirates were going to come in and take the rest of the trees down. How much money do you want? How much money do you want your hospital? I live quite near the hospital on the Rainhill, and every night I can walk past that A&E department and the room there is absolutely chock-a-block like this. You've got to listen to people. You haven't got your schools, you haven't got your infrastructure, and you haven't got police anymore. Where are they?
Okay, one lady over there. Silence, please.
You will have to change your glossy magazine about the Big New Village, because it took me 22 minutes to walk from the roundabout there to 2 Brook Lane to my home on Friday the 2nd of February, and that was at 2:30 in the afternoon. 22 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Lady over there in the middle.
My son's a fireman and was based at Bristol, previous to that Kirby. They closed Western Down. Did anyone find out about it till after it was closed? No. He then got moved on to Eccleston Park. They've now reduced the station there, and he's had to go out to speak to get a position. Now, people are having fights. We have 2 major incidents in Liverpool. We have to bring staff from Bolton, Wirral, everywhere else. They are not telling people that they are not safe. I mean, ideally, you should have the fire station by a hospital, where you might have a major incident of some sort. But at the moment, try and find out.
People have to die.
And the police as well. You tell me the last time you've seen the police, because I'm sure to God I haven't seen one in a long time.
That's true.
At this moment in time,
We get
a
charged
fire
on our
down.
council tax though for the police.
Okay, any further questions? Lady in the black jumper.
Mine isn't a question, but it's an experience that I had last year when it was the elections, when the general election was on. And it took me back to going to the meeting that Michael Hoare and Teresa Sims called at Portico Church when this all first started, just before Christmas 16. And we were asked at that meeting to send our letters into the council, and also to send copies to our local MPs. I sent mine to Mary Rimmer. I didn't have any response. When it came to the general election of last year, there was a lady coming round Honeybourne Drive where I live. I didn't know who she was. She was putting leaflets through the doors, and I got the leaflet. It was the Labour Party leaflet for the general election. There was not one word on that leaflet about the Greenbelt. So I went out, I chased this lady up the road to ask her some questions. When she turned round, it was Mary Rimmer. I had never met her before. I asked her, I said, I have been a Labour voter for over 40 years. I said, what are you going to be doing about the Greenbelt? She looked me in the eye and she said, the Greenbelt, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I am an MP. It is illegal for me to influence anything to do with local policy. She, when I had that meeting with her on the road, she said exactly what I was interested in that gentleman's question before about, is there anything in your remit that stops you from supporting this? She said that she was not allowed under any circumstances to influence as an MP. Now, how can that be if whenever we are worried about things, whenever we see injustices or things that we don't want to happen, we are told to write to our MPs? And I asked her then about the Florida farm. And she said, I know nothing about the Florida farm. It's nothing to do with me. Now she did say she didn't care. And she is an MP for St Helens. How can that not be a problem for her?
Right, okay. Lady at the front here, I think.
Slightly differently, Green Party townhouses from Prescott, and you went to see George Howard's clinic, his surgery, to ask him the same question from Prescott, and he wrote to the council and put pressure on them, and there was a letter that was published from him, so that doesn't sound quite right.
No. I came home and I wrote down what she'd said.
Or he was that interested, or he did what we asked him to.
Because they're there to
They are there
to represent us. That's what they're there for. That's why they're elected.
Okay, is that it then? I think we'll wrap it up there. Oh.
Already existing.
Jill,
Do you want to respond to that at all, Councillor Brewer?
could you just
Just to say, obviously, with each planned application, it's treated separately. We're not talking the local plan. When councillors get involved, it's at a council planning meeting, not before. And then there has to be put in place sustainability rules, which include all sorts of things. Lots of hoops for applicants to get through. When I say they're not there at the present time, that's correct. Because if we were going to build 1,000 houses, we need extra school facilities, we need extra doctors, we need extra dentists. And those will have to be in place before 1,000 houses are built. That doesn't come after the development.
Okay, I think there's one question over here, lady there with a hand up.
Nothing to do with that.
Okay, can we have some silence please? Just this last question.
I've been expecting to hear what you plan to do in the future, not all this griping. What are the committee planning to do now and in the future?
Well, John Fairclough is going to have a word about that.
Thank you. Basically, following on from what we've already told you, we've got a mammoth task, right, which I did say earlier. We've got a mammoth task. We've got to find out the facts, the history, things like these pollution reports, so we can submit all these. There's only 13 of us. That's why we're looking for other specialists, people who can help us, people to log the names, so if we want some flyers shoving through letterboxes, etc., we can do all this, but we can't do it all. We want to get people who can tell us about underground pipe work, which might sound really silly. We've got 2 massive underground waterways from North Wales feeding Prescott. One is unprotected, right? Fact. And so, as I say, between now and June, July, August, we've got a mammoth amount to do. We've also got to raise this money. We've had, yes, it might sound silly, it's not a plan as we're going to be doing this on the dateline. We are going to be very, very active. Come and talk to us, contact us through the internet, anything, talk to us before you go, it doesn't matter. Ring us, right? We're here for you. We're not a councillor, we're a volunteer. We're working for your ends, our ends, for the community. We are for the community. Thank you. Kate.
It's a brilliant question to ask, and hopefully quite a lot of you understand now what we are trying to do and what is going on in the background. The honest response to that is until we see and we get eyes on the next version of the local plan, we actually don't know. Till we can see what's in that plan, and we've got 6 weeks at that point then to be able to respond properly. But until we know exactly what's in it, till we know what brownfield is being utilised, what greenbelt is still planned to be built on, all we can do in the background is prepare and raise the funds. There will be quizzes, there will be a lot of activity going on. Your support in that, all of your support in that will obviously be amazing. But until we get eyes on it, we're going to carry on doing what we're doing with all your support.
Can I just raise a point of information, please? I've already sent in a request for an 8-week consultation period.
As we have 6 weeks summer holidays.
I've sent in, I don't know when the consultation period will start, but I've asked for a minimum of 8 weeks.
Well, that would be really appreciated for the simple fact that last time I think we also got, was it 8 weeks? 6 weeks, but it was the most apathetic time of year over Christmas and New Year. Okay, so if it is going to be published again, hopefully we will get 8 weeks. And it isn't over the summer holidays when most people are abroad or away on holiday with the children.
Okay, well thanks very much indeed. I think we've been at it for nearly 2 hours, so thanks very much indeed for your patience and everybody who's been speaking, and I'm sure people will be around if you want to ask a few questions face to face. Okay then, thank you.